things would you recommend on how to take constructive criticism or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
in a civil way and do something
Yeah.
positive with it?
Well, first things first, is really again shifting the mindset about how you're going to start your day, right? And this has helped me tremendously. Getting up and saying, and whenever you start your day, is really getting up to say, I'm going to be intentional today about how I can be more open, how I can be uh, more civil in my day-to-day interactions, right? And so switching that mindset is a huge shift, right? It's some like small things that you can do. And so one thing is really being practicing active listening, right? Oftentimes, because communication skills are dwindling amongst the younger generation because of tech, right? The apps, the texting, the acronyms, things of that nature. And also a lot of them are working remote. Their first job is working fully remote. So they don't have that in-person interaction. They're not, so the social skills are suffering because of that, their communication skills. However, just practicing active listening and being present in a conversation and waiting your turn to speak goes a long way, right? So understanding what the person is saying and responding accordingly, right? Don't interrupt. I think oftentimes people aren't necessarily, they hear one little thing in the beginning and then they want to jump in and say, oh, this happened to me too. And they're not waiting until the person has finished their sentence. Really just practice active listening. The other thing too is to use positive language. I think oftentimes we get into this negative mindset and we use negative words to talk about someone or say something about someone instead of switching the narrative and making it more positive. When you start to use negative words, the person you're communicating with shuts down. They have not heard you. They heard that negative word, and that is what they're going to hang on the entire time. And so you are then dismantling the communication process right there, right? So it's fostering a good relationship. So making sure that you're opting for more positive language, right? Um, and then this is pretty popular amongst some of my clients. They are young in their career, so they don't know how to necessarily navigate challenges in a company, and so they'll complain versus come up with a solution, right? So I will say, okay, well, it's not the greatest situation, but how would you handle it, and how do you think you can come up with a solution that would have a more positive outcome? And when you talk through it in that way, they then say, "Oh, okay." So it's sort of retraining yourself to to stop thinking negatively or to stop complaining, because if you complain, it's not changing the situation. You're just complaining about it. And sometimes I get it, you need to vent, right? Vent to your friend, get it over with, do what you need to do. But when you're in a workplace environment and you really want to enhance your personal brand and your leadership presence and really enhance your professional reputation to advance your career for new opportunities, networking, really focus on demonstrating the ability to overcome a challenge positively. And that is civility, right? And then, of course, and we talked about this, so I'm just going to highlight again, taking responsibility and accountability for feedback and what you can do to implement that feedback positively. And, just say, oh, thanks, I didn't look at it that way, and move on from it. And of course, respect diversity of thoughts, cultural differences, opinions, and perspectives, right? Be respectful of those differences. And as long as even if you differ in opinion, that's fine. And you have a conversation about it, just do it in a way that you're articulating the fact that you appreciate and respect that person's perspective. You don't necessarily agree with it, but I recognize where you're coming from, right? And again, that's fostering better relationships amongst your colleagues, your manager maybe, or key stakeholders in the organization.